So, of course, in the Porsche Carrera Cup, it's always all action. There you've got a spin from Tim Bridgman, and that's obviously taken him out. And it left Nick Tanley as guest driver. He actually won the race, and Tim Harvey came second this morning. That's given him an extended lead in the championship, 34 points. Here you can see the standings. Tim Harvey is in the lead at 281 points. And of course, Michael Caine is there. Oh, just 1 point ahead at 280. Tim Bridgman there after his spin at 240. Sam Hancock, Phil Quaife, Tony Gillingham leads on. And of course, now we have the race coming up for you with Simon Hill and Ben Edwards.
We saw, and we're going to see what happens in this one now, because Phil Quaife starting from pole position. He did start from pole position earlier on today, but unfortunately it didn't quite stay that way. You just saw in that little clip the spin that Tim Bridgman had. Now he had problems because both oil and water were spewing out from his car. He was forced into retirement, but it caused a lot of other action too, didn't it, Simon?
Yeah, we saw, excuse me, most significantly, the man that was leading the championship prior to that race, Michael Caine, have a spin, drop down behind Tim Harvey. As we heard from Janie earlier, that Tim Harvey effectively won the race in terms of points. It was won by our guest driver, Nick Tandy. Awesome performance by him. But he didn't score championship points, so Tim got the maximum points. Now there's only 1 point in it. But the significant thing is where the two championship contenders are starting relative to each other, Ben.
Well, that's right, because there's Tim Harvey's car just setting off from towards the back of the grid, because he fell off in qualifying yesterday. He missed the brake pedal, would you believe it? After all those years of driving these cars, he did say to me at Knock Hill when it happened to Charles Bateman, it can happen quite easily actually. He said it's happened to me before. Well, it went and happened again here at Silverstone. His foot fell off the brake pedal in qualifying, so Tim is back in 15th place on the grid. But his championship rival, Michael Caine, starts up on the front row. He starts second, and there's only that 1 point between them. So this is exciting stuff. Let's take a look at the grid. There's Michael Caine then, second on the grid, with Phil Quaife on pole. Behind them we've got Tim Bridgman and Nick Tandy, the man who won earlier on today, but he doesn't score points because he's a guest driver. Sam Hancock starts behind them. Then Nigel Rice, who's right up there again in the Pro-Am 1 category. Charles Bateman and Tony Gilliam are behind. Then Sean Paul Breslin and Steve Rance. Glyn Geddy back there looking for points in Pro-Am 2 category. Paul Hogarth is back with him on that 6th row of the grid. Graham Mundy and Alistair McCaig. McCaig, another newcomer into the series. There's Tim Harvey, all the way back in 15th place. Mark McAleer, who won the Porsche Open Championship last year, has got a chance here in the Carrera Cup. He's followed by Tommy Dreelan and Robin Clark on the grid. So that's how they line up. A lot of work for Tim Harvey, and actually, I'll tell you what, these conditions, normally Tim likes the wet, but the problem that he's going to have now is that dry line is beginning to develop. It's going to be quite hard to move offline and make some overtaking manoeuvres.
Absolutely. The other problem that Tim was chatting to us earlier about was that, you know, although he's potentially going to be quicker than certainly the cars immediately in front of him, how far can he get up the grid quickly enough to be able to be in a position to be relative to Michael Caine, his championship rival? There's a good chance, of course, that Caine gets a good start, gets a drop on Phil Quaife. He could even potentially be in a winning position.
Let's see what happens. Phil Quaife on pole position. Then there he is, car number 6. It's lovely to see the youngster from Tunbridge in Kent on pole position. But can he get his first win? That's what he's still looking for. He finished 4th in the end in that first race. Failed to get on the podium. He's had several third-place finishes this year. Still chasing that first win. Can he do it this time? Well, joining him on the front row is the championship leader, of course, Michael Caine. He'll like these conditions, but Tim Bridgman will want to make up for that disappointing non-finish earlier on today. He starts 3rd in the blue and white car, and he should enjoy and relish these conditions. We're all set to go racing here at Silverstone on the national circuit. Red light goes out. Oh, what a start from Michael Caine, and a nightmare from the pole man. And Nick Tandy squeezing down the wall. Tim Bridgman trying to squeeze him out. Nick Tandy does not lift, does not back off. It's Michael Caine leading. Nick Tandy takes second with Tim Bridgman and Phil Quaife battling behind, but Tandy runs wide. Quaife gets sideways mid-corner. Oh, Tandy goes out on the curb. My goodness, what a start. And look at the lead that it's given championship leader Michael Caine.
Also an awesome start by Tim Harvey. Saw out of our window. Look at Quaife trying to get the car stopped, really not getting on with this first lap. Look at Tim Harvey there, that's the car, the number 2 car, the Nationwide Crash Repairs car, coming through. Brilliant start. I think he maybe made 2 or 3 places up just off the line, but Michael Caine's start was perfect.
Brilliant getaway by Michael Caine, and it was all happening behind. The 2 Jota cars are behind. It's Phil Quaife in 2nd, Sam Hancock in 3rd, Bridgman there in 4th place, Nick Tandy back to 5th, then it's Tony Gilliam ahead of Nigel Rice, but look, Tim Harvey's in that next little group. Oh, Charles Bateman very sideways alongside him, but Tim gets away with that, and now Tim looking for a bit more grip on the outside of Luffield.
Yeah, looks and showing his class there is Tim, as you can see. Now Hancock's got ahead of Quaife. Sam Hancock still, of course, potentially in the championship hunt. Big moment there now. Woodcote Corner in these conditions is a proper corner. It's not just a little kink in one of these very, very powerful 420 horsepower rear-wheel drive cars. Tim Harvey on a charge. I think he's down the inside of Nigel Rice. I think he's got that job done. He has.
Yeah, he's gained another place. That's 6th place for Tim Harvey. He started in 15th place. He's at 6th at the end of the first lap. Great first lap, but now he's got to pick them off one by one. He wants to try and get past Tony Gillam next. Tony Gillam is leading in the Pro-Am 1 class here, and he won't want to lose too much time if Tim Harvey attacks, because Nigel Rice in the yellow car is his main rival in the class. In the pits is Bridgman again. Tim Bridgman, well, what is going on? He's having a miserable day here.
Look to me.
Battle for the lead.
Yes.
Sam Hancock takes the lead. Where did he suddenly find that pace from? Maybe Kane made a mistake at Beckett. Bit more rain around perhaps. And suddenly Sam Hancock takes the lead from Michael Kane.
Well, a combination of that change for the lead and also of Tim Harvey charging through. Absolutely outstanding performance by both those drivers, Hancock and by Harvey. And looks like the Jota cars, well, certainly Hancock's car. Harvey's up past Gillam now. Gillam has a little bit of a moment, as does Nigel Rice behind him.
Oh, it's been Nick Tandy spun on the main straight in front of our commentary position. There he is, still spinning. He's kept it off the wall so far. The single-seater racer who won the first. What a great recovery. He's kept it off the wall and he rejoins the fray.
Well, that was awesome, wasn't it? What amazing recovery. It was such a high-speed moment. We were saying just a moment ago how much of a corner it is here at Woodcote. Now, look, you can see he's sideways very early. I wonder if maybe he touched the white line or maybe on an upshift. We're changing up into, I think, 5th gear just about at that point. Perhaps maybe it just snatched the car from underneath him. In the background there we just saw Glenn coming through, and he's now leading, he's in 8th position. He's leading the Pro M2 category, but how lucky was that?
I did that once in a Formula Vauxhall Lotus, right in front of my sponsors, and they weren't too impressed.
But, well, it's certainly one way of getting noticed, and certainly Nick's got very well noticed by winning the race. Now look, Quaife is all over the back. Michael Kane, former teammates, they were both together at Motor Base Performance. In fact, and Tim Harvey was there around about the same time. Bridgman back in the action now.
He's rejoined, yeah, but he's a lap down, so that's confusing. So the blue and white car, Tim Bridgman. Tim Harvey is actually now running in 4th place as a result of that spin for Nick Tandy. So that's a huge boost for Tim Harvey. But Michael Kane, his big rival, is running 2nd. But there's only one car effectively now between Kane and Harvey. Well, after yesterday, where Tim must have thought, oh, my championship's out the window, suddenly it's very much back on again.
Yeah, and Tandy there has recovered. Charles Bateman, who we saw have a monumental accident at Knockhill last time we were racing. Fortunately, he's okay. The car needed reshedding. Look at now, Kane having to really fight to keep Phil Quaife back, and it looks like the Jota cars are working brilliant. Now Quaife seemed to have a bit of a tricky first lap, but he's really got on top of the car now. And behind Bridgman, he's obviously got some pace. It looked like they were changing tyres. Maybe they were just replacing a damaged tyre or something. But it doesn't look like they were going to slicks this early. I think that was the other possibility. Certainly with the lap times that Bridgman's doing at this stage. Does look, though, look, Kane's trying to come back.
Yeah, he's trying to come back in the number 44 car. The man who was leading the championship, who's now 1 point behind Tim Harvey coming into this race. And now, look, oh, there's Charles Bateman off in the gravel. Looks as though that's not going to come out of there. So he's about to climb out of the car. Tim Bridgman, now this is confusing for Michael Kane. He doesn't really want to get into a dice with Bridgman, who has been into the pits and is trying to effectively get his lap back. But that's going to make life complicated. But Michael Kane, if he finishes where he is now, I think would regain the championship lead by that 1 point, wouldn't he?
He would indeed now. This is Tony Gillam, as you said earlier, Ben, leading the Pro-Am category. And Glenn Geddy, the 18-year-old, only recently turned 18. Not been to Silverstone before, has impressed us already at Croft with a superb drive in very difficult conditions. The first time he raced in the Carrera Cup, and a 4th overall. Also at Snetterton was awesome. The Apex Turbulence car looks like it's working very, very well. Palm Motorsport preparing the car. They obviously prepared the car that won the race earlier for Nick Tandy, and clearly it's working very, very well. And Glyn is not short of confidence in these conditions, is he?
No, and Nigel Rice up ahead of Gillam now in this race in terms of that battle for the Pro-Am 1 class. But as you say, he's got Glenn Geddy right behind him, who's leading in the Pro-Am 2 class in that number 78 machine. There's Nick Tandy in the white car trying to go round Nigel Rice. Nick Tandy had that huge monumental spin out of Woodcote, but look at that, it hasn't deterred him, has he? He goes right round the outside at Luffield.
Well, there you go. One guy in his first weekend in a Porsche, another man who's the current Pro-Am champion. Clearly, Tandy really on top of the car, enjoying it. Seems to have not been phased at all by that monumental moment that he had there. Certainly doesn't knock his confidence. He's been very, very quick in F3 this year. He's really impressed a lot of people. And as you said earlier, Ben, he's of course the man who won the Formula Ford Festival, and that's no mean feat. Kane and Bridgman taking a very different approach. Really slightly surprised at Tim Bridgman here. He knows how important it is for Michael Kane to get a good result, and he's getting in. If nothing else, he's certainly causing a fairly major distraction to Michael.
Yeah, that's right. And Bridgman way down the order, a lap down after that pit visit. So confusing stuff in a way as he goes through. There is Tim Harvey, who is effectively the next car in this race behind Michael Kane. And not much difference in lap time. Harvey, although, was a little quicker than Michael Kane last time around, about 0.4 of a second, in fact. But whether he's going to be able to close the gap, we'll wait and see. Tony Gillam still there ahead of Glyn Geddy, but Gillam is still sitting second in his class, the Pro-Am 1 class, whereas Geddy is leading his Pro-Am 2 class, ahead of Steve France, who's not that far behind in the black car. So you might still see a class battle between those two. I think that's why Glyn Geddy would like to get past Tony Gillam. Michael Kane and Tim Bridgman both getting past a back marker there, but through cleanly, it has allowed Bridgman to close up again.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Michael Kane is going to do about Bridgman. Is he aware that Bridgman's a lap down? It's obviously not going to be, as you said, but it's not going to be that clear perhaps to him. There's no, they don't have radios, i.e. the team can't talk via the radio to the drivers in this championship. So interestingly, it's going to be something that Michael's basically going to work out for himself. Sam Hancock still got his head down and charging. Quaifer's driving very, very well as well. Going to be interesting. Still a lot of laps left now. Last time round there was about 1.2 seconds the difference in lap times between Hancock and Quaife. And Harvey now is lapping 108. Where are we? 108.4s, 109.1 for Kane. So 0.7 of a second quicker than Kane. It's quite conceivable at this pace that he's going to catch Michael Kane in the next 6 or 7 laps.
Yeah, so we could still see a race between our two big championship rivals in this particular race here, as Tony Gillam in the number 34 car still fending off Glyn Geddy, the youngster, who's doing a great job here. He's not deterred by the good defensive work being put up by Tony Gillam. He's just looking to hurry and harry the car ahead of him and look for any chance that might appear, and that's good stuff from Glyn Geddy, just cutting across the line through Woodcote Corner. Both cars looking pretty stable through there. They crossed the line. We've had 7 laps. We're on to lap 8 now out of 28. Still a long, long way to go in this race. Track conditions are going to change, but interesting, it's really not drying up very much because we've had that extra little shower of rain. So it's going to remain pretty wet, I think, and it's a question of looking to see where the grip is. It is indeed, and Gillam has really been impressive this year as a man who's got to grips with driving a Porsche, current VW Cup champion, the redesigned racing team. He's new to it, the team are new to it. Glyn Geddy is, as we said, he's not short of confidence, is he? He's really attacking that car. Let's remember, this young man is only in his 2nd season of racing. He's only really been racing minis and the odd Caterham race, and now he's racing 420 horsepower Porsches and really has impressed us so much. Full season is now this is interesting. Tim Harvey now past Bridgman. Bridgman seems to have made it very, very easy for him. Clearly he's being lapped. He can't get involved in that scrap, and it frees up Tim Harvey to really attack Michael Kane. Yeah, well, Tim Harvey's still some 3.2 seconds behind. He lost about a second on that lap, actually, interestingly, maybe because he got caught up behind Bridgman. Tim Harvey lost about a second, so not as close as he was to Michael Kane, but this is a huge result already for him. If he just sits where he is, he wouldn't have ever expected yesterday evening when he went off to bed to think that he could be in such a strong position. Having started 15th on the grid on this one, he's up to 4th. He's 1 place behind his big rival, and if it stays like it is right now, there would be a 1-point gap going to the last 2 races at Brands Hatch. It really is a remarkable story. And these 2 guys, we were talking about it earlier, Simon. I mean, we like both guys. We've seen them both race for many, many years in different forms of British motorsport. We rate them both extremely highly. It's such a hard one to call.
Oh, Hancock, a race leader has spun.
My goodness, Sam Hancock, he had a very comfortable 5-second lead, and he's thrown it away. That's his teammate taking the lead. Phil Quaife takes the lead, and Michael Kane could here take 2nd place. Big opportunity for Michael Kane to open up a couple more points lead in the championship if he can get past that car.
Well, it looked to me like maybe Hancock's got some sort of a problem. It looks like the car looks like it was sitting particularly well on the road. It's maybe perhaps he's got some sort of a tyre problem. A puncture perhaps could be something that caused it. Certainly not a characteristic of Sam Hancock. He usually doesn't make silly mistakes, so very, very surprising, but conditions are so treacherous. Sam was having to push hard, and this does, of course, mean now that Phil Quaife is in a superb position. Lap times wise, he was pretty much on the same pace as Hancock. Now let's have a little look here, Ben.
Yep, comes out of Luffy, gets a wheel on the curb, classic in the wet, puts the wheel on the curb, and round she comes.
Well, amazing that he managed to keep it out the wall. We've seen 2 lucky escapes now for first Nick Tandy, then for Sam Hancock, and I bet Phil Quaife was, as much as their teammates and they're very good friends, rubbing his hand together at the opportunity. Look now, though, how close Michael Caine and Tim Harvey are.
Yeah, these are the 2 battling for the title, the 2 experienced campaigners. Both of them really want this title. Tim Harvey has finished second so many times he would rather forget it. Michael Caine, a front runner in so many championships, a champion along the way, as Tim Harvey has been, but this one would be the big title to him, I'm sure. And these 2, look how close they are now. They're separated by a point in the championship and by a few feet on the racetrack, with this one and 2 races to go at Brands Hatch. Fascinating stuff here. The sort of conditions, I would say, that might favour Tim Harvey. He's always been brilliant in the wet. He was in touring cars, and he seems to be in the Porsches as well.
His sublime skill. He really has got amazing deftness and feel for these sort of conditions. There was a yellow flag being waved as the cars came down to Beckett's, but it looks to me like Harvey maybe has got a bit of momentum, possibly, to be able to get to the inside. Is he going to try it at Brooklands? Well, both of these drivers have been off here this week, and both went off in testing on Friday, admittedly in dry conditions, both pushing very hard. Michael Caine tried a different gear, tried to use 3rd gear instead of 2nd through there, and just couldn't get the car stopped. Tim Harvey just braked too late, and then he had a problem, as we heard, as you mentioned, Ben, in qualifying, where he just literally missed the brake pedal. Now they're coming up to lap one of the 79 car, I think, that's just coming up through. That's McKay, isn't it?
Alistair McKay, who's having his first weekend in the British Carrera Cup, but look how close these 2 are. They're in the race for 3rd position, slightly different lines into Copse. So for a moment it looks as though they're side by side, but they're not actually. It's still Caine with the advantage. Phil Quaife is the race leader by 1.7 seconds from his teammate Sam Hancock, but this is the race that we're watching so closely. They both desperately need to finish, cannot afford a mistake, and to go off, then it would really hand the initiative to their rival. But this is wonderful stuff, and Tim Harvey will try and play the psychological game as much as anything. If he could actually overtake Michael Caine, that could be a major psychological blow.
It could be. They've had some very close fights this year, specifically thinking back to Croft when they had those very difficult changing conditions, and that was real neck-and-neck stuff. Slightly different lines, slightly different technique being used. They both know how to drive a Porsche brilliantly. Michael Caine actually said to me yesterday, he said, it's only really in the last sort of half of this year that I feel that I'm really genuinely competitive in a Porsche, which seems an amazing thing to say, but he's always felt that unless he's been able to go out and set ultimate pace and drive the kind of race he did all part or both races where he just dominated, that's the sort of thing by him meaning that he's really competitive. But you really can't call this one, can you? Which one of them is going to have the advantage? And also, is Phil Quaife's car going to be as strong in the second half of the race as it's been in the first half?
Well, that's a good question. Phil Quaife has a lead. There he is of 1.4 seconds over his teammate Sam Hancock, but Hancock was about 0.3 of a second faster on the last lap. Then you've got the short gap back to Michael Caine and Tim Harvey, 3rd and 4th. Nigel Rice is still running 5th and leading in the Pro-Am 1 class. Tony Gillam is 6th, and then Glyn Geddy is 7th, but leading in Pro-Am 2. And some good tussles going on throughout at the moment, but it's really this one between Michael Caine and Tim Harvey that we're keeping our eyes focused on at the moment. Still plenty of time left in this race. We haven't quite reached the half-distance mark yet. 12 laps are being completed. We're on lap 13. We'll go on to lap 14 as they come around. Nick Tandy has ripped the front splitter off the car.
I wonder if that was endemic of that big spin that he had earlier. Maybe it was going, it went off at that point, or maybe it got dislodged. Caine and Harvey. Now, interestingly, the lap before Tim Harvey caught Michael Caine, he did something like a 1:08.6, and Caine was like a 1:09.6 or something like that. So the difference in lap times has now stabilised. They're both now lapping around about the 1:08.5 kind of mark. So that's an interesting and significant difference. Be careful, Tim Harvey. Don't drop a wheel off. Don't do a Sam Hancock.
No, he put a wheel right on that curb then. That wasn't what he wanted to do at all. And look how much time it cost him, and they're lapping a slower car at the same time. Graham Mundy is getting out of their way. The pressure on these two guys not to make a mistake is immense, and you can see under that 420 horsepower, the back end of the Porsche wobbles around, weaves around as he tries to get the power down, and it really is pressure. It really is thinking about what you've got to do all the time in these conditions. I was talking to Colin Turkington a moment ago, the touring car driver. He says driving these conditions, your eyes are on stalks the whole time because the concentration required is so immense. You can't blink.
No, you just cannot. Well, we just saw what happened to Sam Hancock, my man in control supposedly of the race. Tiny little mistake, just ran a tiny bit wide onto the curb, and that was that. Now we're still only just at half distance now. That's significant because the conditions don't seem to be changing. It certainly doesn't seem to be getting any kind of a dry line. There's still a lot of spray in the air, as you can see. The wipers working hard to keep the screens clear on these magnificent Porsche Carrera Cup cars. 13.5 minutes left on the clock, so that could be significant as well, Ben.
Yeah, it might be a timed race. I think it might end up being a 13.5-minute race rather than going to the full 28 laps, and that's because of the slower lap times in these wet conditions. Leader is Phil Quaife, Sam Hancock in second position, as we mentioned. Those two really pushing pretty hard. Michael Caine still holding on to third, and a little battle going on further back here. This is McKay trying to find his way past Tommy Dreelan. Tommy Dreelan, who actually is well up in the points of the Pro Am 2 class, but he's a few places behind in terms of race position here.
Yeah, I think Getty has just managed to take the lead of that championship. As you see now, Harvey closer than ever, looking to the inside. Caine taking the deeper, more perhaps obvious racing line for the wet conditions, where perhaps a little bit more traction. Interestingly, the Porsche Super Cup race that raced here as a support race for the British Grand Prix in the summer is in torrential conditions. Tim Harvey raced in that race as well. Did a brilliant job of coming from way down on the grid to finish in the top 10. And coming out of that corner there that we just saw coming out of Luffield, the leader at the time was German driver Jan Seyfarth. Dropped the car, lost control of the back end of the car, and got collected by Damien Faulkner, of course a former champion with Team Parker Racing in this championship. So, you know, it can happen so easily, even to the very, very best drivers.
Yeah, it was a great win that day for British driver Sean Edwards. He drove superbly, and Danny Watts was also right up there. So it was a good day for Britain on a day that Lewis Hamilton won the British Grand Prix. Oh dear, and we've got a visitor into the gravel. It's Jean-Paul Breslin, who's making his appearance in the Carrera Cup this weekend for pretty much the first time, but he's unfortunately beached the car.
Now, does this mean that we may possibly... Well, we've seen some great recovery work by the rescue crews here at Silverstone over the weekend. They've got snatch vehicles where they'll go out and tow the car out of the gravel as I speak, as one of them's appeared. So that may mean that they don't need a safety car. It could be just a localised yellow. I watched the Seat Cooper race yesterday. That situation exactly happened. Well, that looked to me, just looking out there as the cars came through, that there may be something down on the circuit. Or perhaps it was just the way the light was bouncing off the road. Nothing in it still, is there? Looking at lap times, 1:08. Ooh,
just a different line, I think. Yeah, just a slightly different line from Tim Harvey. Yeah, I noticed too. Look, the two leaders are closer, aren't they? There's only half a second now between Phil Quaife and Sam Hancock. So Sam, who led this race, made that little mistake, a fairly big mistake, coming out of left field, spun it right round, but he's now caught back up to his teammate Phil Quaife, who, remember, is looking for his first ever win in Porsche Carrera Cup GB. Sam has had a few wins already, including last time out at Knock Hill, but these guys might be teammates, but they're each going for the best result they can get.
Absolutely, and Sam Hancock said to me, he said, I'm not thinking about championship, I just want to win every race that's left this year. It's all that matters to me. Obviously every racing driver wants to win, but he means that in the sense that from a points point of view, that's not really significant. It does definitely look like he's got the pace at the moment to get the car back into the lead, and I'm sure Sam Hignett and all the guys at Jota Sport, the Kent-based team that have made such an impression, really have been superb this year, coming into the championship with such established teams as Redline Racing and Team Parker Racing. Is still very much the class of the field. There's of course the teams that Caine and Harvey are driving for, but the guys will be looking at over the pit wall just thinking, we want one of our cars to win, we don't want you to hit each other, whatever you do, boys.
Nick Tandy back on the track once again, so now trying to recover some of the lost ground from being in the pits. Tommy Dreelan on the outside, so Nick goes through on the inside. But another star of the future, Nick Tandy, to definitely keep your eye on. He was nominated, as I mentioned earlier on today, for the McLaren Autosport BRDC Award at the end of last year, and by all accounts he was pretty impressive in the testing that they did. He also won, to earn that spot, he won the Formula Parma Audi Autumn Trophy. He was very impressive in that. And Nick Tandy's definitely a star of the future, and he's shown that again today with his performance in a Porsche Carrera, which, as we know, are not the easiest cars to jump in and be fast in. But look at these two teammates, absolutely welded together, aren't they? Phil Quaife and Sam Hancock. Good stuff between the two of them so far, it's clean. And Phil Quaife keeping his head at the moment, not making any mistakes. He did make a little error in the first race, and he got caught out as well on Tim Bridgman's fluids, but hopefully this time, let's see what happens. He's got to deal with some traffic as well.
Yeah, Robin Clark being vigilant, just making sure. Oh, now Harvey down the inside. Kane looked like he looked up a bit.
Tim Harvey's taken that place. Tim Harvey has got past Michael Caine, but Caine is going to come back at him on the exit. They're still side by side, the two championship leaders going for the title in this penultimate round of the series. 2 more races to go, but Harvey's done it. Harvey's got ahead, and that puts him into 3rd place. Michael Caine down to 4th.
Yeah, look how much they've dragged into the 2 leaders as 2 battling Team Jodersport cars. It would seem that perhaps maybe Quaife is just keeping Hancock behind, and that's allowed Harvey to reel him in. And Harvey's now, there's still a fair few laps to go, in a great position to even maybe win the race.
Well, this is amazing stuff, and that's a bit of a psychological up for Tim Harvey to go past Michael Caine, to get ahead of him. And not only that, he's now easing away slightly from him. As you say, there might be a chance he can put Sam Hancock and Phil Quaife under the pressure in the remainder. 8 minutes to go in this race, just over 8 minutes remaining, with Michael Caine in 4th place. Nigel Rice still in 5th, remember, he's still leading in the Pro-Am 1 category. Look at this, 2 Jota teammates, Hancock moving around one way then the other. He's going to look for the run into Cox, but he slots back in behind Quaife, who brakes pretty late. You can see the car weaving around under braking, but he controls it beautifully. And right behind them, bearing down on them, here comes Tim Harvey. He loves the wet, he's closing, and the team, Jota team, Sam Ignat and the guys, they can't believe this.
They can't believe it. They thought, I'm sure they thought the race was going to be one of their drivers winning it, but now it could be any one of these guys. I'm sure is in a position. Harvey has got the bit between his teeth. He wants this championship so badly. He needs to beat Michael Caine, and he needs to try and get every single point. If he can put the Jota cars between him and Caine, that would be such a massive boost to his championship challenge. But it's going to be anyone's guess. There's still enough laps. There's maybe 6 laps to go.
Quaife is a bit wide. Hancock might get a chance. Not quite. You think Quaife actually was looking for the grip, but Tim Harvey's still right there with them. This is fantastic racing. Some of the best racing we've seen in the year so far. Some 40 drivers have competed in the Porsche Carrera Cup this year so far, and they're putting on a great show for us here at Silverstone. Still, it's the youngster Phil Quaife who leads the race. Sam Hancock in 2nd. Both of them being caught by the experienced Tim Harvey, who had to brake on the straight there because Hancock actually cut across in front of him.
Yeah, there's a combination of Hancock looking for a gap to try and take the lead and trying to defend. Harvey gets better drive out of Copse. He's going to jink to the right. That potentially could put him in the position to get a look down the inside. Very carefully and not to lock wheels. No ABS. He used to have them on the 996 versions, but not on the 997, so you can lock up. And really time that very, very carefully to try and get a better run. Caine is sitting there watching, and it means Quaife has been able to break away again.
Yeah, it has. So Phil Quaife looking good, but Michael Caine, as you say, is now right back with Tim Harvey. Neither of these guys can afford a non-finish, and that's what's going through Tim Harvey's mind. He wants to get past Sam Hancock, but he can't afford to risk a non-finish or any kind of contact. Remember how vulnerable the front of these Porsches are. We've seen it so many times. You only need to make a little tap in the wrong place on the front spoiler there, and you puncture a radiator, and Tim Harvey will be so aware of that. He's done it a few times in the past himself, and he'll want to keep it clean. They come across the line again. Phil Quaife leading, Sam Hancock in 2nd place, Tim Harvey right there in 3rd, and then Michael Caine in 4th.
Yeah, and it's just pressure all the way for everybody. Quaife's having to defend from his teammate. Harvey's trying to put more pressure, and he has put more and more pressure. He's got a better run again. Caine, in turn, is also potentially got a run to follow Tim Harvey through past Sam Hancock.
He's done it. Tim Harvey's passed. The back marker also playing a part in that, and now Tim Harvey's got to watch out from behind for Sam Hancock coming back at him and the attack. And there's a car is there between. Oh, careful, boys! You don't need to do that now. Keep it clean. Harvey still in 2nd place, Sam Hancock in 3rd, then it's Michael Caine in 4th place. What a race this is turning out to be. Phil Quaife still leading, but Hancock's going to try and come back at Tim Harvey. He's not fighting for the championship. He's got less to lose, and Tim Harvey's got to be careful here. Can't afford to be pushed wide by Sam Hancock. Oh,
there was a touch of wheels, Ben. I'm sure they touched front wheels that time through there. They're almost touching through here. Hancock's bravely hanging on, but Harvey just gets better drive. Or does he? Oh, nearly does it again. Nearly loses the back end. This is absolutely outstanding racing of the finest drivers in the championship, really showing us what it's all about. And any one of these guys could get a podium, but Phil Quaife is getting closer and closer to being able to edge away enough to potentially get that elusive first win.
It's so hard to explain the sort of nerve-tingling pressure that both Tim Harvey and Michael Caine in particular are feeling in this race. They are racing so hard, but it's so easy to make the slightest mistake, and your whole championship could be thrown away in one hundredth of a second's misattention by just getting something slightly wrong or making the wrong kind of contact with the car next to you, and that's the kind of pressure they're dealing with. Great stuff from these guys. That's the sort of level we want to see. But as you say, at the moment, it's Phil Quaife in front. Harvey has just managed to ease away a bit from Sam Hancock, so Phil still won't have it all his own way, and there's just around 3 3/4 minutes to go.
Yeah, the lap times aren't really that indicative because there's been so much scrapping and fighting going on, but Harvey definitely looks like he's got the pace. He looks like he's got enough speed in the Redline Racing car. The Data Pulse supporting car is looking strong. Everything is working brilliantly for Tim Harvey in terms of his driving. He's certainly on top of it. Let's not jinx him by saying too much, but it certainly looks to me now as if anyone's going to win a race, it's going to be Tim Harvey. The mission is on. Well, the A's missing from his name on the screen, and if that's the worst thing that happens to his car, then that'll be okay for Tim.
He stays off the curb this time. Phil Quaife had a little bit of a wiggle under braking. There is another back marker that they're catching as well that could play a part in this. Tim Harvey getting closer to the back of Phil Quaife, braking deep and late, but Phil will probably get on the power a little earlier. Harvey, absolute focus, absolute concentration. Total determination here from Tim Harvey to try and take the victory, but they've got Tommy Treelan up ahead of them. Tim just moving out of the slipstream a little bit, but also watching his mirrors because he won't want to allow an opportunity for Sam Hancock to come back in. They're not that much ahead of the guys behind. Tommy Treelan, now where's he going to go? Harvey's going to watch him closely. Both of them are going to try and go around the outside. That's good work from Tommy Treelan. He's kept well out of the way.
Yeah, it was nearly a point where Phil Quaife nearly got boxing. Quaife gets a little bit sideways. Now I'm starting to wonder now, what's Tim Harvey thinking? Is he going to risk it? Is he going to try and put that extra position between him and Michael Caine? Or is he going to be aware of the fact that Phil Quaife is going to be desperate to win this race? He knows Quaife has not won a race outright. He nearly won at Donington earlier, doing an outstanding overtaking manoeuvre to take the lead from Tim Bridgman, but he was judged to have passed under a yellow, and that lost him the win. And Harvey now looks like he's got the drive, he's got momentum, but is he going to take the risk?
That's the big question. That is what we're going to find out over the next minute and 3/4 as Tim Harvey heads around Beckett's corner. Oh, bit of a slide that time. Look at him getting on the power early, but so did Phil Quaife, and that's given Sam Hancock a bit of a chance to catch both of them. They were both a little bit over anxious getting on the throttle. Both of them got a bit sideways, but here comes Tim Harvey attacking for the lead now. He's side by side with Phil Quaife. Phil Quaife's going to try and stay with him. Can he get through Brooklands? This is where he went off. Oh, and Sam Hancock going very deep into the corner. Harvey's in front. Can he stay there? Tim Harvey in front in this race. He started 15th, but he's in front.
That's absolutely outstanding manoeuvre. Phil Quaife just didn't have an answer for him. It wasn't enough for him to be able to do that. He just got a little bit held up as well. Quaife now is going to be fighting a rearguard action because I think Hancock's on a mission again. Tim Harvey could have pulled off the most outstanding move. Surely this is the last lap of the race as well. All he's got to do is nurse that car around. He's got to push hard though. You described the way that Colin Turkington, the other touring car driver, said your eyes are on stalks. Well, they're going to be on super stalks for Tim Harvey with this final lap. This could be so significant.
This has been a remarkable drive. I tell you what, Tim Harvey in the wet, we've seen it in the past in touring cars. He has something special in these kind of conditions. He would win races in touring cars when he really shouldn't have done in these conditions, and this time he's come from 15th on the grid in identical cars in the same conditions to take the lead of the race. Absolutely remarkable, with some of the top Porsche drivers around. Phil Quaife still holding on to second, which would still be his best result of the year if he can hold on to it. Now, are they going to see the check at this time? Bit of traffic to deal with. Tony Gillam is the man on the inside. Tim's got to be careful here not to get too carried away. Are we going to see the flag, or will there be one more lap? I think we're going to see them as they come across the line this time. It could be one more. No, it is checkered.
Checkered flag. Tim Harvey wins, Ben.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from Tim Harvey. He takes the victory. He takes 20 points, with Michael Caine finishing in 4th place, taking 14 points. 6 points, that's a 7-point advantage for Tim Harvey going to the final 2 races.
Then you can see the guys on the pit wall, the Redline Racing team, Simon Leonard and all the guys, Darren and Alex and Adam, they're all looking delighted. Steve Powell from High Tech Fleet has been supporting him for years. He knows this is a great chance for doing it. You will never have seen a finer race driven by Tim Harvey in any form of motorsport. In all of the races he's done, this is his 102nd their 102nd Carrera Cup race. That's Lydia Rice, Nigel Rice's daughter. She's delighted for him and for Tim, and of course for Nigel, who's won his class as well.
Yeah, he won his class, but as you say, Simon, Glengetty, yes, who won the Pro-Am 2 class, finished 5th overall in the end. That was a good result. But what a drive by Tim Harvey. I have to say, that's one of the best I've seen him ever race. I mean, under the most intense pressure, that's the thing. It was going for those vital points, and he just managed to pick them off. He could not afford an on-finish, but he picked them off one by one, and then enough to take the lead as well. Absolutely astonishing stuff, and one of the highlights of not just this season, but the last few seasons of Carrera Cup racing. Tim Harvey takes the win by just over a second from Phil Quaife. Sam Hancock third. For the Jota team, it is Phil Quaife's best result of the season. Michael Caine, he's 4th, and he's still in that championship battle. It's going to go to the wire now at Brands Hatch. Glengetty wins Pro-Am 2, Nigel Rice wins Pro-Am 1. Steve Rance, Tony Gillam, Tim Bridgman and Paul Hogarth complete the top 10.
Well, he's still got it, the old boy, hasn't he? Good old Tim Harvey, an absolutely stunning performance from 15th on the grid to 1st and the race win. And after more than 100 races, could Tim Harvey be on the verge of winning his first ever Porsche Carrera Cup championship? We'll have a look at that championship situation and speak to Tim very quickly if we can in a couple of moments' time. Join us then. Welcome back to Silverstone, where in the Porsche Carrera Cup we've had an absolute treat of a race with our co-commentator, 1992 champion of the British Touring Car Championship, Tim Harvey, taking the lead with just 2 laps to go, and to make the championship very, very tasty as we go into the last 2 rounds at Brands Hatch. And look at that, it's just 7 points now as Tim Harvey takes the lead of that championship. 301 points from Michael Caine with 294. Sam Hancock and Tim Bridgman surely out of that after a very disappointing weekend here at Silverstone.